Welcome everybody. Again, we're going to get started here. We got lots of action and some good speakers and some visitors. So we're going to get started. So Phil Clark is going to lead us with the inspiration and pledge. Phil?
Thank you, Bill.
Good luck getting there.
Yeah. Thank you, Bill.
Oh, don't do that.
I don't want to touch this microphone.
Sort of goes in like that. Not quite like that.
Not quite like that. Close enough.
This is part of your orientation.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, you really
you can only move this,
the whole thing.
move the base thing, not the mic down. Is that where you want it?
Yeah, that's wonderful. Okay, gang, could I get your attention for a minute, please? Don't miss the meeting next week. Let me say that because the Elderly Brothers are going to perform here.
Woohoo! Rock on!
Oh, and it's going to be fabulous, believe me. Today, my topic for our inspiration is success. And I've got 4 little quotes, won't take long. The first one is from Reba McEntire, who is the Queen of Country. She's also an actress, a lot of success. She says, to succeed in life, you need 3 things: a wishbone, a backbone, and a funny bone. That's it. Michael Jordan, who of course is acknowledged as the best basketball player that's ever walked the planet, says, I have failed over and over in my life, and that is why I succeed, which I kind of liked. And remember, he tried out for Major League Baseball and didn't make it to the majors when he took a break from basketball. And he also got cut from his varsity high school basketball team. So, Maya Angelou is my third. And of course, she's a great poet and writer, memoirist. She says, it's not what we have in life, but who we have in our life that matters. And that spoke to me. And I want to finish with the Irishman Oscar Wilde, who says, be yourself, everyone else is taken. Okay. Would you stand, please, for the pledge? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thanks, Bill.
Thank you, Phil. Thank you, Phil. That was a nice bit of inspiration and success and a little bit of humor mixed in there at the end, so thank you. Okay, we've got a few visitors today, a visiting Rotarian. We've got a couple speakers, guests, so let me start with Mike. Why don't you stand up, introduce yourself. I forget your last name, but just let everybody know who you are. It's good right there.
All right, very good. Hello, everybody. My name is Michael Dean. I'm a member of the Rotary Club of Denver, and I'm a lifelong Rotarian of 8 years.
Which is 15, okay.
Yes, right. I know. It's sneaking up quick, but I'm what they call the field director for the Denver area Boy Scouts. So for the easiest way to explain it, picture kind of the metro area is the area that I serve along with other executives, minus kind of downtown. And one of the executives that serves this particular area, I'm going to let him kind of describe maybe a quick word about himself, what he does, and kind of the area that he serves here. I wonder if anyone can figure out which guest in the room might be the person that also works for the Boy Scouts. But this is Mr. Alex Ray. I'll let him tell you all about himself.
And I was going to introduce Alex. He's a local area of Douglas County. If there was anyone who wanted to pass on information about RILA, he's in charge of all the Boy Scouts, or anyone who maybe wanted to have a more comfortable seat and come to the back and talk about Rotaract or whatever. He's the guy because he's in Douglas County. So there you go.
Hi everybody, I'm Alex Worry. I am employee with the Boy Scouts. So essentially, I am in charge of all the Boy Scouts that are in Douglas County, Roxborough, some of Littleton, Parker, and we go all the way down to just past Larkspur. So it's a pretty big area. And so we're always looking for what we can do to help our community. I myself got my Eagle Scout in this area with Troop 114 in Littleton. And when I was looking for a job, I said, what can I do to give back to my community? I said, well, the Scouts have to be number one. So that's how I ended up here, and that's why I'm here today.
Welcome. We're glad to have you. Come back again. Okay, I don't see any other guests. Yeah, well, so you're going to introduce the program. So Terry, why don't you come on up here and introduce our speakers and the program. How's that mic level look pretty good there for you?
Okay, thank you. So We Don't Waste. When I first learned about We Don't Waste, it really hit home with me because my uncle and grandfather had a restaurant in San Francisco. And every night when they were done putting away the food, there were lots of things left over. So what they would do is they put together baskets for young families who were trying so hard to feed their own families. So We Don't Waste was founded in 2009. It's a food recovery nonprofit based here in Denver, Colorado. Their sole mission is recovering food that would have been wasted and then distributing it to various agencies here in our metro area, making free food available to those who are food insecure. One of these agencies is Project Angel Heart. Julia Lennon is the group's programs and education manager. She has been with We Don't Waste for 3 years, and she's very passionate about protecting our planet and to making sure that good food doesn't go to waste. Today, Julia is accompanied by Alan Babcock, who serves on their Speakers Bureau. Julia and Alan, welcome to the Rotary Club of Highlands Ranch.
Alan, you want to come up as well? Thank you so much for having us. We're just really excited to be able to present in person and get to talk with you all today about We Don't Waste, what we do, food waste, the environment, and what we can all do to make a difference. So our mission at We Don't Waste is support the community, and our community is the greater Denver area and the environment by reclaiming and redistributing quality food to those in need. And I'm actually going to let Alan take the first couple of slides, and then he'll pass it back over.
Cool.
Here's a clip.
Turned on? Awesome. Excellent. Thank you. I'm a volunteer with We Don't Waste. I've been involved with We Don't Waste since 2009 when we were founded. It happened that Arlen Preblood, our founder, happened to come to the church that I attend with Zig back there. We sing bass together in the choir. And Arlen came and said, we need some help to collect food at a Broncos game. What? We're going to collect food from the suites, and then we're going to redistribute that food to people who need it. Okay, I can do that. I can do physical labor. And my wife and I started by collecting food at the suites at a home Bronco game. That's how we got started. Arlen would collect that food and put it in the back of his Volvo station wagon and take it to some shelters. That food would then help folks, those shelters, expand the reach of the food that they were providing. We Don't Waste isn't a food bank. We are a distribution arm. We take food that would otherwise be wasted and supply that to the folks who need it. A big problem in the United States is that the food doesn't get to the people that need it. We lose about 40% of food that is prepared in the United States. Prepared, grown, obtained, it gets thrown away instead of getting to the hands of the folks who need it. And that's why Arlen founded We Don't Waste, was to collect that food that would otherwise go to waste and distribute it to those who need it. He started with that Volvo station wagon. Today we have 4 refrigerated trucks and 20 employees helping to deliver that food. And we'll give you some more data as we go here. So in 21, we collected over 20 million servings of food. Now, if you figure that a meal consists of maybe 3 servings, a vegetable, a protein, a bread, a fruit, those kinds of things, that's about 7 million meals that we provided in 2021 that would have otherwise gone to waste. We work with about 136 different food donors. There are organizations like grocery stores, restaurants, sporting events that provide food that we collect and then distribute that. We work with over 90 nonprofit organizations to distribute that food. We are not personally distributing food to individuals, although if someone comes to our distribution center up in North Denver looking for food, we will certainly not turn them away. But our big function in life is to provide the food to those who are really equipped to do that. And then a couple of years ago, we started doing some food markets that is more of an individual delivery mechanism for that food. And we'll talk about the food markets in just a little bit. There's our refrigeration trucks. We have within the distribution center, we don't call it a warehouse because food doesn't spend much time there. We collect food and it goes out to wherever we can get it into the hands of the people who need it. We have in that distribution center a huge walk-in refrigerator. We also in the last, year have a freezer?
Yep, just this last year.
So we can take perishable foods that a lot of food banks can't take, and we can distribute that stuff. Here's some pictures of some of the folks on staff and volunteers doing some of those things. Down there in the bottom left corner, that's Kyle, our director of operations, standing with a bunch of milk. Those are all crates of milk that were donated by a dairy. We have farmers, we have grocery stores, we have restaurants, we have lots of places that donate that food that then we can go out and distribute. What types of food do we get? We get lots and lots of things. Vegetables, 23% of what we collected last year was vegetables, fresh produce. That is extremely valuable to folks who might not otherwise get good food. They get processed food. They might only be able to go to the dollar store in order to get food, cans, boxes of stuff. So fresh veggies is huge. Shelf-stable product, of course we can collect a lot of that, cake mixes, boxes of rice, and those kinds of things that are very valuable and helpful for folks. We also do baked goods, beverages, condiments, and spices. People who can't get hold of fresh food may not have access to the spices and things that they need to prepare that well also. Dairy, lots of dairy product, fruit, other things. Prepared foods only about 1% of what we collect. So we're really focused on getting that healthy, good stuff into the hands of the people that need it. We focus a lot on protein as well.
Just one little note, prepared food was also just pretty low the past couple of years because events were not happening as much. So yeah, before the pandemic, we certainly were recovering a lot more prepared foods from catering companies. So it's really just like trays of food that didn't even go out onto the buffet yet. So for example, a wedding might have 300 people and prepare for 350, and then only 250 show up and they have 100 people worth of food left over. So that's just a note about the prepared food.
Some of the types of things that we've collected. Again, lots of fruits and vegetables, fresh vegetables. Quick, see the green peppers down here? Shortly after we got the refrigerator up at the distribution center, I walked into that refrigerator, and there were two great, and I always forget the names of the crates. What are those things?
Like a Gaylord.
Gaylords.
Big, yeah.
Big Gaylords. So it's the size of a pallet and 3.5 feet tall or so, full of green peppers that had been donated by a grocery store that will remain unnamed. Those peppers had 3 chambers. They said they couldn't sell them in their store because people wanted 4-chamber peppers. No, not kidding. Wow. One of the things that happens in our food distribution system, we as consumers want to see high quality foods that we're going to spend that money on. We're even kind of freaking out because there's not that much food on the shelves, produce in grocery stores now because of the supply chain issues. Well, we turn down food that might have a blemish on it. We choose not to buy that. There's nothing wrong with the food. We Don't Waste is there to take that food, distribute it to people who think, you know what, a 3-chamber pepper is just fine with me. I will make whatever I can make out of that 3-chamber pepper. So, thank you, grocery store. Yeah. Another funny one, when you get food, like a turkey or even canned food or things, there's a date on that food, right? Does it say, don't touch this, don't eat this after February 71st or whatever the date is? What? I like that. There's only 30 days in February, everybody knows that. Sorry. Do you throw that stuff away? Some people do. Grocery stores won't sell a gallon of milk if the date stamp is only about 5 days out from today. There's nothing wrong with that milk. They give it to us, we can help distribute that. Use your eyes, use your nose. Don't just throw away food if it says best buy July 21st. It's probably still good. A lot of it gets thrown away. Who donates the food? Mentioned earlier, we work with about 136 different partners that donate that food to us. Julia knows more of those names than I do. I've been out in the trucks where we have collected food from places that would otherwise be putting it into packages and distributing it to their customers. But 5 days or so, they're afraid that they can't sell that to their customers. So they donate that to us. Where do we take the food? Here's a few places that we work with. Teresa mentioned another one that is evidently close to your hearts here at this chapter of Rotary. We work with lots of different venues to get that food into the hands of the people that need it. Sock's Place is a youth center. It's like a rescue mission for youth who are on the streets and need food. Arvada Community Table is a bit of a food bank that they supply food and other services up in Arvada. Denver Rescue Mission, of course, most people know who they are. There With Care is an organization for families and children that need help with food. And we work with a number of school food pantries to get hands into folks, or get food into the hands of folks. Food markets is something we started a few years ago. Food markets during the pandemic have mostly been drive-through, but some folks actually walk to the food market with their shopping cart behind them to get food. These things are largely done in areas that are food deserts. Anybody heard the term food desert? So in a food desert, there may not be a grocery store within about a mile of where those folks live. Their best chance for getting food might be going to a dollar store and getting a can of beans. They just can't get access to a grocery store. So we hold these food markets. We take the food out of the distribution center, we set up a number of tents, the cars line up for hours and drive through, and we put boxes of food, fresh food, good food, into the trunks of their cars, and they take that home so that they have food to prepare for their family. Got some, is the data on the next slide here?
I believe so.
Oops. There it goes. Here we go. 2021, we did 71 mobile food markets around the city, mostly in North Denver and around. Served over 50,000 people by providing them food, and 40% or more of those 50,000 were under the age of 18, children. Lots of people who are food insecure out there. Pictures of some of our food markets. I hear Teresa's going to do one next week. They're fun to do. It's pretty amazing. All right. So we provide food to people who need it, but the other piece of our mission is to reduce the amount of food waste. Where does food get wasted? Farms and production is one place where food gets wasted. About 7% of food that is grown never gets harvested. It's too expensive to harvest. The farmer isn't going to realize enough money from that stuff. They have shipments rejected. Put all the food on the back of a truck and send it off to a grocery store, and the grocery store looks at that box of apples, says, uh-oh, there's a couple apples on the top that are bruised. I refuse the whole truck. Happens every day. They can bring that truck to We Don't Waste and unload it at our docks, and we will redistribute that. Restaurants. How many times have we gone to restaurants and the plate of food is so big we can't eat it all? Well, maybe if we're good, we try to get a doggy bag and take that home, and it goes in the refrigerator and keeps getting pushed to the back of the refrigerator and eventually gets thrown away because we forget that it's there. Lots of food waste from over-serving and things at restaurants. Large menus with lots and lots of different things on the menu. The kitchen has to be fully stocked in order to make all of that. A lot of that gets wasted. Consumers, we overbuy. We oh man, that looks good, let me get that. And then it gets put in the refrigerator or wherever in the shelf, and we forget to use it, and it goes bad. Improper storage, we don't know how to do it. And some of us just look at that date and say, uh-oh, February 71st, we can't use this anymore. Retail, the grocery stores overstock on purpose. They want a nice selection for their customers to have. They pull stuff off the shelves if it's getting close to the sell-by dates. And of course, they throw away things if it doesn't look good. So lots of opportunities for waste. Let me turn it over to Julia. She's got a nice trivia question for you.
Oh yeah. Also, I just want to make sure we don't go over on time, so please cut us off whenever. So, where do you think the largest percentage of food is wasted? A, households, B, grocery stores, C, restaurants, D, farms, or E, transportation? If you want to just kind of yell out what you think your answer is. I'm hearing a lot of farms and grocery stores, a couple households, and that is actually the correct answer. So that yellow section of the pie chart there is households. So we're all guilty of it. And what's kind of funny, there's some stat out there that everybody thinks they waste less than their neighbor. And that just obviously can't be true. We're all wasting a lot of food. It adds up. And I'm someone who's hyper aware of food waste. It's my job. I'm passionate about it. And I still am guilty of it. I try to compost that food when I can, but food waste happens in every household. So when we're wasting food, not only are we throwing away 40% of food that's made for humans to eat, but we're wasting a lot of money. So America spends up to $218 billion every year on food that gets thrown away. We're also wasting a lot of water. So agriculture is the largest consumer of fresh water in the United States, and 21% of fresh water is used to make food that gets thrown away. So we're just kind of washing all that water down the drain. And what's kind of crazy is a lot of our agriculture happens in California, which is a drought-prone state, and we're just, wasting a lot of water. And then energy. So 1 to 1.5% of global energy is used to make food that's thrown away. This is just a little bit about how much water is needed to make a couple different types of food. So generally, like animal-based food products use more water because like a pound of beef takes almost 2,000 gallons of water to make because you have to water the field, to grow the grain, to feed the cow, and then the cow needs to drink water, and then you have to process the meat. Whereas like a pound of tofu takes 302 gallons. So one almond actually takes 1 whole gallon of water. So we actually grow almonds in California, and you have to pretty much drown the field of the almond trees in order to help them grow. They need so much water, so that's why nuts are just super water intensive. But those are just a couple of stats that I find interesting. And then a little bit more about the environmental impact of food waste. So when we throw away food, we don't always really think about where it's going, and for the most part, it ends up in a landfill. And in a landfill, it sits there and it slowly rots. So a head of lettuce could take up to 25 years to rot in a landfill. You might think like, oh, it's organic material, it should just quickly decompose. And that's totally true if you compost it because it's in an environment where it's getting oxygen that it needs and it's surrounded by other organic materials. But in a landfill, it doesn't get that oxygen it needs. It's surrounded by plastics and cardboards and metals, and it just kind of takes up space and slowly rots and emits methane, which is a greenhouse gas that's up to 84 times more potent and harmful for our atmosphere than CO2. So pretty big problem. And if food loss and waste were its own country, it would actually be the 3rd largest emitter of greenhouse gases after China and the US. So lots and lots of negative environmental impacts when we throw away food. This is just a little bit about We Don't Waste and our environmental impact. So in 2021, we rescued more than 5 million pounds of food, kept that food out of the landfill. And by keeping all that food out of the landfill, we diverted 14 million pounds of greenhouse gases that would have ended up in the atmosphere. And this is about the equivalent of taking 1,400 cars off the road for a whole year. And then I just want to touch on what we can all do. So we can all make a difference in our own households. I certainly can. Just like meal planning or meal prepping, something as simple as making a grocery list. I don't always follow my own advice and I go to the grocery store hungry and I buy things I don't need or I buy too much of something. And then I end up with some produce in my fridge that I didn't have a plan for and I'm like, what am I gonna do with this? So just planning a little bit better. Getting creative in the kitchen. So I know a lot of people use brown bananas to make banana bread or freeze them to use smoothies. So that's a good one. Using stale bread to make croutons or breadcrumbs is another good way to use something you might have normally thrown away. And also, like Allie mentioned earlier, being wary of those expiration dates. Totally trust your senses. We've evolved as humans to know if something's safe for us to eat. So if you see mold on it, we don't want to eat mold, so either cut it off or throw it away. But totally use your sense of smell it, and then ultimately taste it. And if it smells good and it tastes good and it's been stored properly, it's probably still safe to eat. And then storage. So some things I didn't know about storing foods. I had no idea that you shouldn't keep potatoes and onions next to each other. They apparently release gases that cause each other to rot faster. So if you keep them separate, they'll have a longer shelf life. Same thing with bananas and other fruits. So you might notice if you have a fruit bowl and you put bananas in there, everything's gonna ripen faster. So if you keep your bananas separate, everything will last a little bit longer. But if you have like an avocado or something that's really firm and you want it to ripen up, you should put it next to your bananas. And then just knowing what foods need to be eaten quickly. So like leafy greens, if you buy those, you might tell in like a couple days they're gonna get really wilty and wimpy. So just eating those quickly. Berries, I totally learned the hard way not to wash my berries all together and then put them in the fridge, because once they're moist and wet in the fridge, they're gonna get moldy faster. So keeping them dry, that's kind of a general rule of thumb. A lot of foods need to just be kept dry in the fridge, like mushrooms, berries, and then they'll last a lot longer. And just a couple other tips that I have really made my life easier and led to me not wasting as much food. Carrots, if you keep your carrots in water, they last way longer. Same thing with celery. So just like putting a whole stalk of celery in a little jar of water in the fridge will keep them crunchy way longer. And then my freezer is my best friend. So totally utilize your freezer. Maybe label and mark your leftovers, because I always end up with a mysterious container of red liquid in my freezer. I'm like, is this chili? Is this tomato sauce? I have no idea. So marking your leftovers like that could be helpful. And then composting. So if you have the ability to compost, whether that be in your backyard or through a town compost pickup program, composting is a great way to reduce the negative environmental impact of that food waste that you end up throwing away. There's some parts of fruits and vegetables we really can't eat and we need to throw away, like an avocado peel or pit, a banana peel. So composting is a great way to reduce the impact that the food would have in the landfill. And then a little bit about how you can get involved with We Don't Waste. So we really rely on our volunteers. Alan here is one of them. And we couldn't do what we do without volunteers. We really appreciate their time, especially at our mobile food markets. We have 7 of these events every month, and we need between 10 and 20 volunteers at every event to help it run smoothly. We also have distribution center shifts where people pack up bags or boxes of produce, and speaking opportunities. So we have some tabling events coming up where our Speakers Bureau members who are trained to speak on behalf of We Don't Waste can go to these events and talk to people about We Don't Waste. But there's other ways to get involved. So you can donate. You can sign up for our newsletter to receive monthly emails about updates about what we're doing at We Don't Waste. And also you could just be a food waste warrior and kind of spread what you learned today with your friends and family. And if you do volunteer, this is kind of just a little more details, but if you're doing one of our mobile food markets, prepare to be outside for a while and wear some comfortable footwear because we're kind of just walking around a parking lot for a few hours. But yeah, that's a little bit about We Don't Waste, and here's a few pictures. So this is one of our drive-through markets. So that's a box of produce that we gave away. That's a line of cars. We usually serve between 150 and 250 families at each of these events. And this is an example of a grocery bag packing shift. So this is actually during the height of the pandemic when all of our shifts were outside. We do have indoor shifts now as well, especially in the winter. But yeah, those are a couple pictures. So anyone have any questions? Yeah.
So when you have the market, do you prepare the boxes, or how does that work?
So yes and no. So we usually will bring a box of dry goods and usually a bag of produce, and then the rest, it kind of depends on what we got in that week. So oftentimes we'll get meal kits, kind of like HelloFresh. So we'll get those meal kits and we'll bring those, and those we'll just put in people's trunks. We often have dairy, so we'll usually bring gallons of milk or whatever we have that day. So some stuff's pre-packed, but we super rely on volunteers to help put all the food into the trucks, because sometimes it's like loose cartons of berries that aren't in the bags. Yeah?
How do you organize, or how do people know where the drive-through markets are going to be? Is that a standard time?
Yeah, great question. So we have 6 different host partners who help us promote the markets to the community. So some of these are churches, schools, community centers. So they help spread the word initially, and we do stick to a consistent schedule. Okay. So people know, like the first Tuesday of every month we're in this parking lot, and the 4th Friday we're here. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a great program. Is it other parts of the United States have this, or like Project Cures all over the United States now, whatever?
Yeah.
How do you guys expand?
That's a great question. So we are just in Denver, but I know that Arlen has helped other states set up similar models. Actually, I have a phone call. I think it's called like Second Servings. I think it's in Texas. I have a phone call with them next week to talk to them about their education program. So we certainly have partners elsewhere, but no one that's like actually affiliated with us. We're just in Denver. Yeah?
So I'm curious, when you got started at the Broncos games in the luxury booths,
Suites.
Thank you, suites. That's the word. Give us an example of what you would take from that luxury suite, because I'm thinking if you've got a tray of lasagna and maybe a tray of chicken cordon bleu and it doesn't get eaten, would you?
Yeah. So about a dozen to 20 of us are running to all of the suites. We focus a lot on proteins. And the reason we're able to take it out of the suites is because it's been there in warming trays, chafing trays. So it's still serving temperature. We collect that stuff and put it in bins and very quickly get that into a refrigeration unit in the basement level of Mile High Stadium. And it sits there overnight generally. Now it can go to our warehouse, or distribution center, but it sits there and is chilled so that we can safely distribute it. We generally don't grab sweets. We would grab lasagna. I mean, that's probably good to be reheated and served, but we focus a lot on proteins, hot dogs, bratwurst. I've picked up entire prime ribs out of sweets that were never touched. It might be a 10-pound prime rib. So those are the kinds of things that we generally focus on.
So you do something like that, then how does that food that's been already cooked get to a recipient? I mean, and how do you decide how that's going to work?
So we'll pick it up with our trucks the next day.
Yeah.
So luckily we've had a good relationship with Epicurean, which is a catering company at Mile High. So we use their refrigeration space, have it cooled, like Alan said, overnight to get it to food safe temps. And then we pick it up with our truck the next day and we'll bring it right to like Denver Rescue Mission and they'll serve it that night.
Right.
So we're kind of the middleman between people who have too much food and people that don't have enough. So just kind of connecting the dots there. Yeah?
Two questions. One is, the people that come to your, because we're involved with some food pantries, and the people that come are vetted first. And so is there any vetting on your part, or?
Sure. So
that's my first one. And the second one is, how are you funded?
Great questions. So the first one, so our nonprofit partners, so the first question was, are people vetted before receiving food from us? So our nonprofit partners certainly are. So before they become a recipient agency, we usually do a site visit and we meet with them and we learn about what they do. And as long as they are serving food to people for free and doing it in a food safe way, they can take it. So we give food to veterans, to single mothers, to homeless shelters, and it's kind of not up to our discretion like what they do with their program, as long as they're giving it to people for free. That's kind of it. At our mobile food markets, we do ask some questions, mostly because we do receive some government surplus food. During the pandemic, we signed up to receive this TFAP government surplus food because we were nervous we weren't gonna have enough food because there was so much uncertainty. So because of that, we ask some questions about if people use food stamps or if they are income eligible to receive that specific food. But anyone can come and get food at our markets. We want to keep it open to anyone. You don't have to be income eligible to receive the other food, just the government surplus food. So like I'll even tell my friends, like if you, like a couple of my friends lost their job during the pandemic and I was like, you should come to the market. It's all good food that was going to get thrown away, so we don't want to exclude anyone from that. So anyone can come and get food.
Okay, and funding?
The funding. So we're funded by individual donors, corporate sponsorships, a lot of grants. So we have a great development team who's always writing and reporting on grants. So yeah, but we're just like, yeah, and we have one big fundraiser a year as well. It's called Fill a Plate for Hunger. It's in September every year. It's a big gala event. So that brings in a lot of our yearly revenue as well.
I'll also add, the company that I worked for before I retired had a grant program, a community grant program. And because I was a volunteer, I was able to apply for grants. And so my company donated a whole bunch of money to We Don't Waste through that grant program. I'm also aware of a lot of organizations that have matching donation kinds of things. So an employee might apply, say, hey, I'm going to give $1,000. Would you match that and give $1,000? So if any of you have companies with those matching grant things. A little bit different, but another thing that happens is a lot of companies now are offering volunteer hours for employees. They may have 40 hours that they can volunteer in a year, and we're happy to get those volunteers to come help us. Maybe it's only 8 hours, but whatever it is, a lot of companies are involved that way that support us as well.
We definitely went over our time, so I don't, we could.
Yeah, one more question,
Okay. Go ahead.
You told us that one of the worst places for wasting food is in our homes.
Mm-hmm.
And then you went on and said, okay, by the way, here are some tips.
Yes.
Do you have some kind of an education program to get all the rest of our foolish people who don't know that you're supposed to segregate bananas from fresh fruit.
Yeah.
Do you have a program in place that puts that kind of information out?
Yeah, I love that question because I'm actually the education manager, and we started our education program about a year and a half ago. So it's something that I pushed for when I first started working at We Don't Waste. I actually started as the volunteer coordinator and moved into my role. So we do go to schools and present to kids of all ages about food waste, and we also have like some collateral, so like handouts, like a front and back tips and tricks to reduce food waste at home. So we'll bring that with us to tabling events, and we're actually thinking about launching an at-home food waste challenge sometime this spring to hopefully reach more people. But our education program is growing, and we would love to be able to widely share information so that everyone can know how to reduce their food waste.
Are the tips on your web?
There might be some. I can certainly share like a PDF of it with Terry. And I also, you have my email address, so if anyone has any other questions, feel free to ask them.
All right, one more last one.
Okay.
We have a project here at our club called Project Angel Heart. Do you know about that?
Yes, yeah. So we will deliver food there.
Decorate bags, and they're picked up and taken over to Project Angel Heart. And I'm wondering, does some of the food that you collect go in those bags?
Probably, yeah. So I actually, when I first started working at We Don't Waste, was on the trucks for the first year. I was a volunteer coordinator, but also kind of did a lot of things. So I was on the trucks, and we would go to Project Angel Heart once a week and drop off bread and sometimes produce. They're very particular, like no seeds on their bread, and there's a lot of like allergy restrictions, but we've been working with them. They've been one of our longest working partners. So yes. Yeah.
Cool, awesome. Let's give them a round of applause. Thank you guys for a great program. Lots of interest and questions, and lots of good that you're doing for all the food, the environment, the people that need it. It's really an awesome program. So thank you. So as a part of our thank you for being here today, we're making a donation to Rotary International Polio Plus Fund in your honor. And because of the generous contributions of the Gates Foundation, they match it 2-to-1. The donations will be used to vaccinate up to 30 children. So thank you very much again.
Thanks so much.
And then we have one last important task here. I'm not sure if anyone sold you the tickets coming in the door, but we have a little thing. So pick one ticket. Last 3 digits is all we need.
Yep, I got 2. All right, 519.
Anybody?
They're usually slow to respond here.
519.
Going twice, second here.
Winner.
All right, thanks you guys. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Come back anytime.
All right.
Thanks, Phil. It's good to see you. It's kind of funny.
It is funny. Funny little thing. Okay, so they served you dessert.
Oh, wow. I'll go eat
If
some.
you don't want to waste it, give it that guy next to you.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, Phil, we're going to put you on hold. Is that okay?
Sure.
All right, bunch of announcements. Tammy, I'm going to call you up here first. Tammy has some announcement about some staffing needs, I think, for the district conference.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Not just the conference, but pets.
Oh, that's what I meant to say.
Yeah, I know. Thanks, Bill. Yeah, just a little shout out. Ray Anderson, who hoped to be here today to make this announcement in person, is visiting another club, as he, as you know, is our district governor serving this year. So I said, sure, I'm happy to do it. So each year, High Country Pets is a president-elect training seminar, 3-day weekend to prepare incoming presidents for their role leading our fantastic Rotary clubs. And, you know, I thought about what's going on in the world today and just everything, and how important Rotary is, and how important it is to have strong clubs, and how important it is to have strong Rotary leaders. So PETS is where they all go to get trained, and it's a great opportunity. Many of you who have served as presidents before know to network and be inspired, and you just come out full of energy to lead your club successfully. So, March 4th, 5th, and 6th is High Country Pets for Tom Keaton, who's coming in as our next president, and all the other presidents for multiple districts. It's not just District 5450. I'm long here, but I'll try to make it quick. Bucci, who is usually, who is the incoming district governor elect, he's from E-Club 1, so he doesn't have a local group of volunteers because they're all over the place. So 3 clubs have been asked to pool volunteers to serve as sergeant at arms, not this weekend, but the following weekend at Pets. And I want to just give a shout out, Jan Keaton, John Logan, Terry, and Debbie Doig have already volunteered. It's simple, all you have to do is stand there, smile, be welcoming, and give directions. And if you're available, I did send out a Sign Up Genie link to sign up. It's the same link that's going out to the other 2 clubs, so hopefully if you have time, either on Friday the 4th or Saturday the 5th, and you want to spend a couple hours serving not just our club, but other clubs in the district and the area, please see that link. If you need more information or didn't get the email, let me know. And that's it. Thank you.
It's in Westminster.
Yes, Westminster, yes, is where it's at. Thanks.
All right, Debbie, you want to come up?
I do.
The microphone's at the right height, so.
Okay, I was a new Rotary member. This was in like 1996. And somebody got up and talked about the PETS conference. They didn't say it was President-elect training seminar. They said it was a PETS conference and so-and-so's going and this is going to be great. And I thought, why are we at Rotarians going to a conference on raising pets? That's what I thought. So, and I was too new and felt too embarrassed to ask anybody, what does this mean? So, anyway, I'm glad that Tammy told you what that acronym is, so that you are clear. All right, to my point, how many of you were at the Recycle event last year at UC Hospital in Highlands Ranch? Okay, I want more hands for this year. I'm representing the Sunrise Club this morning, or this afternoon. It's their major fundraiser of the year. Sunrise and Noon Club are really considered one club. We help them, they help us. They've got their Recycle event coming up May 7th. And I have said to the Sunrise Club, we will help you with about 20 to 30 volunteers. So the sign-up sheet went around. I'll be here the next couple weeks. 2 shifts that are 3 hours each. Some people might want to actually go in the morning and stay all day. It was really fun last year, I will say. People so appreciated it. It is paint and electronics. There is no lifting on the part of volunteers, and I think that's important to say. You're not lifting out paint and TV sets. What the jobs will be: traffic control, helping and receiving the donation form, and giving receipts to the attendees. And a lot of people, one of the things that the Sunrise Club made, people just donated like $10,000 that day, because they were so grateful to have somewhere to take this. So
14,000.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Jen. 14,000. So somebody will be holding the tip jar, and preferably with a Rotary bag. Anyway, I really want our club to stand up and support the Sunrise Club. I'm looking for a lot of action that day from the new club.
Right on. Yeah, it was a fun day last year, and raised a lot of money that did a lot of good in our community. So I would definitely back that. Calling for sunshine that day, someone said. Perfect. All right, let's see, I'm not sure. Kari, I'm gonna say, hey, we still need more volunteers for the tech team. Is that fair to say?
We've gotten 4 people
Wow.
that have spoken up, so that's pretty good for now. In the next few weeks, we're going to be presenting the new plans for what the future state of tech is going to look like, and then we'll start getting the equipment and the training all set then. So I think we're good for now. So thanks for everyone who contacted us.
Yeah, even those that were not very tech savvy and over the age limit, they stepped up anyway, so that's awesome. All right, Neil, do you want to come up? So just to tell you what this is. So last week I mentioned the Rocky Mountain Regional Youth Exchange. We all know sort of what it is, but Neil is the expert on this and had a huge role in this at the district. It's impacted all of his family. And I asked him to say a few words about sort of what this commitment would look like for our club and the benefits that we would get out of that. Yeah, you know the benefits.
Did you notice his tan?
Yeah, retirement looks good on you, Neil. Retirement looks really good on you.
Okay, the district committee, Youth Exchange program has been on hiatus for about 2 years now because of pandemic, and they want to start bringing in students again starting this next September. So for the next school year, 22-23, they want clubs to host students. They sent us an email regarding it since we've been heavily involved. We're 37 years old, and we've probably hosted over 40 students as a club. Some years we've even had obviously more than 1, 2. One year we had 3 students, I remember. But it's a great experience. A lot of our members here have participated both as host parents and just, being with the student, taking them out to different events and doing things with them. So I guess what we're looking for is a combination of, I think we need a youth exchange committee. I'm not going to be in charge of it anymore. I did it for 33 years or so. But it really is, they want us to host, but if you're going to host, you really need to send out students too. That's not as critical, but it makes the whole program work better. And the way the exchange works, countries will send us students and we'll send them a student. So it's a one-to-one exchange. And also involved in this is a short-term summer exchange. But anyway, I think we need a committee of a few people. It is a year-round job. Somebody always needs to be available for the students, either the ones that are in, the ones that are coming in, or the ones that are out. And it's too much work anymore for one person. So we'd need a few people to want to be on a committee. I would be glad to be a member of that committee. Also, we need people that would host students. Typically, we host them. They're here 9 or 10 months. We usually get about 3, sometimes 4 families to host them, roughly 3 months apiece. Many of our members have hosted. Some of our members had neighbors or families that have hosted. Typically, over the last several years, I would just try to get the initial host family, and then typically that student would actually find other host families, wanting to stay with friends that they make in school and that type. But there's a lot of obligations. So if anybody's interested, I think, contact myself or Bill, and maybe we'll get together for a meeting sometime and just see how it goes.
And so there's opportunity if someone has a high schooler to have them go.
Yeah, if you want, high school. Yeah, you can go over. 3 of my children have been exchange students, so. They've gotten a lot out, and that student even bills on other programs that's involved. One of my daughters, she spent a year in Italy, and she was fluent, so she was eligible for another Rotary program, where after college she went and taught English for a semester. So it opens a lot of doors, a lot of things, and it opens the world. I had never traveled before I had hosted, and I always said, well, I don't know when I'll get overseas. We hosted our first Rotary student in 1983. And then through them, I said, I'm going to get overseas as soon as I can. And then since then, we're gone quite a bit. I've actually been to 3 Rotary International conventions for youth exchange officers. So I've gone and I've negotiated exchanges between countries and things like that. So there's a lot of things that open, and you could be a youth exchange chairman of the district and travel if you so desire. I mean, if you want to do things like that. And that was a lot of fun. I went to those conventions, and I'm still on Facebook and friends with some of those people that I met years ago. So.
Awesome. Okay. All right. So like Neil said, if anybody has an interest in getting involved in that, being a host, knows maybe not your family, but another family where the kid might want to go abroad, keep us in the loop and let us know. Okay, so this is the complicated part of the announcements, and it's the next. After all that coaching, so the schedule for our meetings is really in flux here, and just pay attention to what's in the wheel spinner. I know Nancy always does a great job of keeping everybody abreast of what's going on there. It's on the website. So next week, March the 3rd, business as usual will be right here, and it'll be a hybrid meeting, right? So you can Zoom if you want. That's easy. March 10th, State of the State, right? That's the luncheon with Missy Franklin. It's a symposium all day on mental health. So we'll be dark. There's no lunch here on March the 10th. If you decide to go to the State of the State luncheon, club will reimburse you $40, which is half the cost of the lunch program. March 17th, I'm going to stop after, well, I've got one more after this. March 17th, Lone Tree informed us in the middle of lunch last week, they're closed. There's not going to be a lunch here. We're working on the details of what we might do for our Rotary
St. Patrick's
meeting on. Oh! Green beer. What did you say? I still didn't hear you.
Your place.
All right, all those things are on the table. We'll see how it works out. And then the 5th Thursday, March 31st. I skipped the 24th. I don't know what's going on the 24th. I guess business as usual, maybe. I think so. Yeah. And then the 5th Thursday we'll actually have a regular meeting. So. 24th. So really, the 3rd is regular, the 24th is regular, the 31st is regular, but anyway, in the middle there, it's a little bit confusing. So check with somebody who's not confused. All right, Elizabeth, do you have some announcements for the community service? You always do.
I always do. Just a couple this time, really. The IFCS, the next Pop the Trunk, will be on March 16th, and we do need volunteers for that. Maybe a total of 3 more people. Terry Cohn is already signed up to come. Anyway, they also have another volunteer project for us, and this would be something that you could get together with. Connie could call, Nancy, Debbie could call, whoever, anybody. And they'd want people just to come over to IFCS anytime between 7:30 and 4:30 for a couple hours, and you would fix food boxes and maybe rearrange shelves and things like that. But that's another thing you could do on your own. It doesn't have to be pigeonholed into a certain specific day and time. Monday through Friday, 7:30 to 4:30, anytime. But I would call them and let them know you're coming. The only other thing that I think we need to mention today is
Speaking to
the only other thing.
Hey, not so loud.
The only other thing I have to mention today is our Afghan project. And Kevin has a link where, as of March the 3rd, that evening, there's going to be What would you call it, Kevin?
It's training. Jim Haldeman's putting it on. If you're at all interested in the process or what's going on, he's part of Goal and he's putting it on for the district. Just text me, email, it's a Zoom thing.
On March the 3rd.
March 3rd.
6:30 to 7:30 at night. So that's really all. I think the rest can be put off to another time.
Okay.
That's it.
Great. Any other committee announcements
You know,
from?
there is.
Yeah, come on up.
Well, IFCS, you remember those of you who've been around a while, Nibbles and Sips?
Yes.
Well, that event is this Saturday. And we, as a Highland Ranch Rotary, are a $5,000 sponsor for that event. It is free to register, and then you get a Zoom link. It's on Zoom, 6 to 7 Saturday. You can go to their website, there's a place to register, and then you can attend for that hour. There's going to be auction items that you can obviously bid on online. So I wanted to make sure you all knew that because we are a sponsor for that event.
And the link is in the wheel spinner, as is the meeting with the golden guy, Jim Haldeman. There's a
Oh, yeah.
You'll love that.
And I may have mentioned this before. We know who you are if you're not opening up the wheel spinner. We have ways of tracking. All right. Any other announcements from committees? If not, we're going to slide right into Happy Bucks. So start. Oh, is this
Can I just jump up real quick?
Yeah.
So the International Committee meeting will be next Thursday, and you will receive an email because there's still some coordination that needs to be figured out. But since we're dark on the 10th, we're moving it up to March 3rd, and it's in the wheel spinner.
Oh. Wow.
Thank you, Patricia.
All right, Elizabeth.
Happy Bucks.
Happy Bucks.
For the return of Carolyn Radish.
Yay!
You get to do it.
The first one.
First one.
Oh,
It's a long time tradition in the club, Elizabeth.
You're supposed to collect.
Oh, I'm supposed to collect. Okay.
She doesn't like collect. She's prettier. You need some money or something, Phil?
Come on, I know there's some happy people out there. Terry?
I have $25 for our wonderful speakers today. Thank you so much. We learned a lot.
Yes.
And also for my husband Arthur and my daughter Coriana. We're going to tour UCCS. My daughter's going to college.
Whoa! Nice.
Not into college. College.
Green, go ahead.
Happy birthday to Jim Bradley to tell us when we can go back and finish making the bathrooms.
And you're on my list to talk, because we already sorted that out.
Elizabeth, paint them, paint.
Big.
Last week at 80 degrees all week. It was great in Cancun. It was our anniversary on Valentine's Day. So we got ended up getting a second con, 2 condos, and there were 17 of us there, including my 4 children, their spouses. 3 grandchildren, 3 great-granddaughters.
What?
So just a fun time.
Wow. Wow. That's awesome. Dan?
This is a multiple announcement. Here's for Tom Keaton, who's been gone for 2 weeks to Idaho to, I feel like my back is bad. His daughter bought a motel in Wallace, Idaho, which is about 45 miles due east of Coeur d'Alene. And it's a completely, where do I want it? Right there?
Picture of
The town is historic. The whole town is historic. So think of motel, 43 units, retro. It's all in this time. You know, we're all in under retro. And Tom has dredged up his plumbing skills and has been working night and day trying to get the plumbing so it won't leak. And of course, there's going to be a lot of exchange of faucets, and now he's training because he's come home today. So he's going to go back in March for a week if he gets the taxes done before that, so he can go away in April. Anyway, I also mentioned that he is coming back for pets, and Patricia's going to be there too. As the president-elect. And for those people that are so smart to have left this frigid land and have gone where it's warmer, there's a happy parts of them, and all of you that stay put.
All right. Phil, you have a happy buck or two? Oh, Sue?
I've got, 20 bucks here because I want everybody, because of the precarious world situation right now, to hug people you love right now. I think it's really important that we express to all the folks that we love. That is probably the best thing we can do right now.
Right on. Thanks for that, Phil.
I love
And on that note, Jim's retirement was short-lived. He's coming back as a handyman. So, yes, you are. So, Andy,
Wow. Jim, you got your number handy? I guess it's in the Club Runner app. We got the Club Runner
Maybe
app.
I ought to go to Idaho and help Keaton.
Okay, last call for Happy Bucks. All right, we can end early for a change. So if you would all please join me, stand for the four-way test. Of all the things we think, say, or do, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? And make it fun.